Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into the world of kettlebells today, all sparked by a blog post you shared, My Love Affair with the Kettlebell.
Definitely a catchy title.
It really is, and it got us thinking about this whole kettlebell phenomenon. So we're taking Chris Abraham's personal journey, using it as a lens to understand this fitness trend that's, well, kind of everywhere.
It's everywhere. And Chris's experience, I think, really touches on a lot of the reasons why people are so drawn to kettlebells.
Absolutely. It all started a couple years back. Chris was working with a personal trainer, trying out different equipment, the whole deal.
Right, and that makes sense.
Mhm.
Kettlebells, when used correctly, they're all about functional strength. You
Aw.
build the kind of strength that you actually use in everyday life, the coordination.
And Chris was loving these sessions. But life happened, things got busy, and personal training, it became a luxury he couldn't always swing.
Yeah, I've been there.
So what did he do? Discover Daily Burn. Workout right there in his living room. Amazing. But even with all these workout options, guess what kept catching his eye?
Like a siren song. The kettlebells.
The kettlebells, they were calling to him. And here's where it gets really interesting. Chris is super into target shooting, right? Requires incredible strength, stamina to hold that steady aim. He started noticing this connection, kettlebell training, and how he was performing on the range.
Fascinating. And that's something we see a lot, this connection between fitness and a personal passion. It's not just about, looking good in the mirror. It's about feeling capable, strong in all aspects of your life.
Exactly. And that's what we see with Chris, this desire to feel strong and capable. He started incorporating kettlebells into his routine more and more, experimenting with different weights, challenging himself to progress.
Which is key. That's a key principle of training progressive overload, right?
Sure.
You got to challenge those muscles if you want them to adapt and get stronger.
Right, constantly pushing those boundaries.
Mhm.
So he started with those lighter competition kettlebells. You see him in CrossFit a lot, kind of worked his way up.
Yeah, those are popular.
But then he discovered the world of Russian kettlebells, and it was like falling down a rabbit hole.
Well, and it's not just, a superficial difference. Russian kettlebells, they're designed differently. The handle, the shape, the way the weight sits, it all impacts how the exercises feel, which muscles they target.
Big time. He even mentions Pavel Tsatsouline, this legend in the kettlebell world, the guy who really brought kettlebells to the US. Chris read his books, learned the technique, the history, and totally embraced this whole Russian strongman mystique.
Which definitely adds to the appeal, right? This idea of raw, functional strength, it's almost primal.
Totally. Like you're tapping into this long lineage of strength athletes just by picking up this hunk of metal. But Chris wasn't just focused on lifting heavy, he was also fascinated by efficiency. That's how he found Don Fitch and his 90-second workout method.
Ah, yes. Short bursts of high-intensity exercise. It's a really interesting approach, especially for people who are really busy, always on the go.
And it really clicked with Chris. He started testing different weights, see how many reps he could do in these 90-second bursts, always pushing his limits.
It's important to remember, though, it's not about copying what someone else is doing. It's about listening to your own body, knowing your limits, making adjustments as you need to.
100%. And that's what Chris did. Even though he was into these 90-second bursts, he was smart about it. He incorporated other things too, like those daily burn classes, even exploring a whole bunch of different kettlebell exercises.
Which highlights another great thing about kettlebells, the versatility.
Mm.
You can go from simple swings to movements that are incredibly complex. Your body's constantly challenged in new ways.
He even mentions in the blog post, he has this laminated poster with all these different kettlebell exercises.
Oh, wow. So it's like this whole library of movement possibilities right there on the wall.
Right. And it made me think about what both ChatGPT and Bard, what they both picked up on when we were looking at this kettlebell trend. It's the range, the sheer range of things you can do with a kettlebell.
It's true. And I think that's a big part of what keeps things interesting. You're not just, stuck doing the same old bicep curls day after day.
Right.
With a kettlebell, you're learning new movements all the time. You're challenging your coordination. And I think that keeps your brain engaged too, not just your body.
It's a mental workout too, which I am here for. But, okay, beyond the variety, there's the practical stuff too, right?
Hmm.
Both Chris's experience and what the AI was telling us, this idea of portability.
Yeah, the portability is huge. You're not tied to a gym membership or needing a garage full of equipment,
Right.
like just one or two kettlebells. You can get an amazing workout anywhere.
Which is a game changer, let's be honest.
Mhm.
For anyone who's busy or has limited space, Chris was using Daily Burn at home, but I bet he could take those kettlebells with him, outside, even on a trip.
Oh, totally. They're like a gym in a handle.
They really are.
And, that actually ties into another big reason for their popularity, especially these days, affordability.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you think about some of the home gym setups that people are investing in.
Oh, I know. You can get a really good kettlebell, one that will last for years, and it's a fraction of the cost of, like, one of those fancy treadmills. That might end up being a clothes rack a year later.
Okay, that is a little too real. I can picture my own treadmill right now. But okay, back to Chris. He's clearly not afraid to invest a little bit in his training, right? He's got the competition kettlebells, he's got his heavier Russian kettlebell. It's like he's built up his own little arsenal of strength building tools.
It is. It's like his own little collection. And, that brings us back to that cultural cachet that we were talking about before. It's not just about how well they work. There's definitely a cool factor with kettlebell.
It's like you don't see people bragging about their treadmill on Instagram,
Right.
right? But you post a photo with a kettlebell and suddenly you're like, this fitness warrior.
It's so true. There's this whole image of strength and resilience
That's
that
right.
comes with them, that raw, almost primal feel. And it goes back to that idea of functional fitness that we were talking about.
Totally. And speaking of functional fitness, let's go back to Chris for a sec. The target shooting, right? He found that using the kettlebells, it actually made him better, stronger, more stable, and that translated directly to how he was doing on the range.
And that's what's so cool about kettlebell training, to me. You're not just, isolating muscles. You're developing this full body strength, this integrated strength that you can use in your actual life.
It's like working smarter, not harder. And kettlebells, it seems like they check all the boxes. They're efficient, they're versatile, affordable, portable. Plus, you've got that cool factor.
It's true. They've got this unique blend of benefits, for sure.
Yeah.
But the thing that I keep coming back to is I think this speaks to, like, a bigger shift in how people view fitness. It's not just about how you look anymore. It's about being capable, resilient in everyday life.
It really is. It's like people are realizing that real strength, it's not about how much you can bench press, it's about how you move through the world.
Exactly. And I love that. I think that's such a powerful idea. So as you explore the world of kettlebells,
Yeah.
maybe you've been inspired by Chris's story a little bit. Here's something to think about. What kind of strength do you want? What are those activities that light you up? And how can fitness support those passions? Because I think that's a question worth exploring as you kind of go on your own kettlebell journey.
I love that. Something to think about. And that's our deep dive for this week. Thanks for listening, everybody.